Tuesdays and Wednesdays are usually not known for college football, but one conference decided to change that in the 90s. Since then, these games have developed a cult following and are known for good things, bad things, and even downright ugly things. These games are controversial. While television viewership is at an all-time high for these games, stadium attendance is at an all-time low. I am talking about MACtion, which returned last week and will continue throughout the month of November. But is this a good thing? Or is it a part of a bigger college football issue? Stay tuned to find out. So what exactly is MACtion? The Mid-American Conference, aka the MAC, started playing midweek football games on ESPN back in 1999, the year I was actually born. As of now, this deal has been extended through the 2026 season. The games are controversial. They bring in major television money to the conference, but because of the weird times the games are played, they also result in poor attendance, which is not always the best look. According to Buffalo News, the current television deal pays each school roughly $830,000 a year. In 2017, John Steinbrecher explained at a seminar, the typical Tuesday-Wednesday game generates $6 million of exposure value. That's a pretty good infomercial for our member institutions. Yes, if we had our preference, we'd rather kick off at 1 on Saturday. But if we want to generate significant revenue and we want to be a national conference, not a regional conference, we have to make accommodations. He went on to tell The Ringer, Conference USA began this, but they stepped out of it, and we moved into that vacuum. The reasoning was simple. On a traditional college football Saturday, college football fans would almost never choose to watch Eastern Michigan play Central Michigan, instead of a marquee matchup involving the sport's perennial powerhouses. But on a Tuesday, when there's no other football on, people might tune into a MAC game, winning potential fans for the league and viewers for ESPN. In the sport of college football, you have 130 teams playing on basically the same day. We have a couple of days where we're the only games in the country. We're not competing against the NFL. We're not competing against other college properties. It gives us a chance to elevate and build a national brand, which is challenging to do. Their current television deal gives the conference primetime games and exposure to a larger audience. ESPN likes to have at least a doubleheader for both Tuesday and Wednesdays. So are these games successful? According to Sports Media Watch, back in 2015, the matchup on Tuesday, November 10th between Northern Illinois and Toledo on ESPN2 brought in over 850,000 viewers. The following night, Ohio and Bowling Green had over 620,000. The next week, a Wednesday game between Bowling Green and Buffalo brought in 665,000. Morgan Moriarty from SB Nation writes, those numbers are comparable to many regular season NBA games, comparable to some regular season college basketball games involving power conference teams, and higher than many regular season MLB games. As we learn every bowl season, people will watch football on any day at any hour. Miami of Ohio head coach Chuck Martin believes the pros outweigh the cons when it comes to playing the midweek games, believing the exposure and revenue is critical for the league, while former Akron head coach Terry Bowden told SB Nation, it's gonna hurt your crowd, but you're gonna have great television exposure that you wouldn't otherwise have. I wouldn't bring my kid to a game at 9 o'clock on a Tuesday night, but I would watch it on TV. The point is, we got television exposure. We can't fight every battle. I think we've had a great TV deal. It gives us exposure. So from the business side, the deal makes a lot of sense. The television revenue far outweighs the ticket revenue loss, and it brings more attention to not only the football teams of the MAC, but the institutions as a whole. If it weren't for these games, maybe a prospective student would not have considered any of these institutions. And if it were not for these weird times of these games, I would not be making a video on this topic right now. So it really does create exposure for the league. So from a business side, this quirky scheduling makes sense. How is it viewed from a fandom side, and from a player's perspective? But before we get into that, I would like to make a major announcement. I am happy to say I am now working with Liquid IV, who sells amazing products. My favorite item of theirs is their energy drink mix, which gives me that extra boost every day with my now hectic work and travel schedule. Use my code jrobrien at checkout or the link in the description below for 15% off your purchase and free shipping. You will also be supporting the channel when doing so. Thank you again, Liquid IV. When it comes to a fan's perspective of these games being played midweek, you get a mixed bag. Some love them while others hate them. First, I want to take a look at the positive perspective. The Chuck from the Hustle Belt writes, I love midweek MACtion. I live in Los Angeles, and next week I'm going to be able to watch the Ohio-Miami game with a friend here in Los Angeles who went to OU. And we'll be able to do it from a bar during happy hour and do it without worrying about whether the bar has some weird sports package that's outside the norm. Without weeknight games on ESPN2, I wouldn't be able to do that. So when people say the midweek games are bad because they're bad for fans, remember that they're defining fans in such a way as to exclude those of us who can't be there in person in the first place. Before this deal, fans of MAC schools who had left the Midwest struggled to find ways to watch their schools. As someone who went to a Midwest school and now lives on the East Coast and wants to stay up to date on their school, I get that. Roger Sherman from The Ringer wrote back in 2019, "My love for the MAC blossomed out of convenience more than romance. I came to love the MAC because it plays football games on Tuesdays and Wednesday nights in November, allowing me to watch football 7 nights a week instead of merely 5. The cult of the followers who got hooked on these midweek offerings gave the games a name, MACtion." He goes on to say, "I got deeply invested in the 2011 Toledo team that lost a nationally televised game 63-60 one week, then won another nationally televised game 66-63 the next. I stumped for NIU quarterback Jordan Lynch's 2013 Heisman Trophy campaign. I told anyone who would listen that 13-0 Western Michigan deserved a spot in the 2016 playoff. And I made the case that Buffalo's Tyree Jackson should have been a first-round NFL draft pick this spring. The MACtion games create opportunities for players and teams to have their stories shared. Maybe Row the Boat does not become such a big deal had it not been for these midweek games. These games are loved by college football fanatics because it gives us more football to watch. Come November, between the NFL and college football, there is a football game to watch every day of the week." But ask MAC fans who live near their respective schools and try to attend as many games as possible, your diehard fans. They have a different opinion on these games. These games are played in November in the Midwest and Buffalo. Fans need to endure freezing temperatures and usually have to work the following morning. During a 1 o'clock kickoff, you at least usually have the sun out, but these games are played at night, the coldest time of the day. The atmosphere isn't the same either, due to the stadiums being mainly empty, with some even describing the feel of the games as a high school football vibe. Sherman writes, "College football has been shaped by the quest to fill as many broadcast windows as possible, with decision makers prioritizing TV views over potential attendees. MACtion may be the starkest and most successful example. It allows viewers like me to become a secondhand MAC fan from the comfort of our couches, while making life more difficult for the diehard MAC fans who spend frigid weeknights watching their favorite team surrounded by their favorite empty bleachers. Fans remember their worst experiences attending these games. From working the game and not having any students in the student section due to midterms, to having bowl eligibility snapped out of their squad's hands in a post-Thanksgiving game matchup, to schools located 20 minutes from each other playing in front of an empty stadium. These games alienate the diehard fans, the fans who keep these teams afloat sometimes." Sherman explained back in 2018, the average attendance for a MAC Saturday game in 2018 was 16,738. The average attendance for a MAC weeknight game was 12,255, a 26.8% dip. 10 MAC games drew 20,000 fans last year. None were played on a Tuesday or Wednesday. 6 MAC games drew fewer than 7,000 fans last year. 5 were midweek games. Only one school, Miami of Ohio, had any November midweek game draw higher attendance than any of its Saturday games. Toledo and Western Michigan played 3 November weeknight home games apiece in 2018. Those were each school's 3 lowest attended games of the year. The attendance numbers usually announced are usually exaggerated too. Does this look like almost 11,000 fans? Then there are the players, who are college students as well as football players. They usually have to miss multiple days of classes when they have a road game during an integral part of the school year. They get back home from these games late. They don't usually have a day off to help their bodies recover like they do when they play Saturday games. The players on the home team are required to go to morning classes on game day, even if their coaches have them spend the night before at a hotel for the team meetings and extra rest." Sherman writes, "The coaches have complaints. The players don't see any of the money that's brought in by the lucrative television deal. And the MAC fans I talked to all had negative thoughts about the MACtion experience. Of course, those fans also acknowledge the importance of why these league games are played at midweek times. MACtion brings in big money for these schools and national recognition. But is it all worth it? I don't know. As a college football fanatic, I love the idea of being able to watch a game on Tuesday and Wednesday night. But a person who loves the idea of fandom, it hurts to see the loyal fans get betrayed over television dollars. In the end, MACtion is its own special thing, and from a fandom perspective, a very important case study to look at. What do you think about MACtion? Do you love it, or do you think it's wrong? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out one of my other videos right here. Don't forget to leave a like and to subscribe for more college football content. Thank you so much for watching. I could not be more thankful for y'all, and you guys make this all possible for me. And as always, remember to embrace the grind.